Okay, so now we want to talk about the different types of organizational power. So the first that we're going to talk about are mutual free associations. This could be any type of group that comes together of its own accord, of its own volition, or because of its own self-interest. You don't have a strong hierarchical command structure with a mutual free association. This is just a group of people who come together. It could be anything like perhaps a volunteer organization, something like that. Any type of organization, a group of friends even, would be a mutual free association. If you've read Kropotkin or anything like that, you'll probably have a better idea of what a free association is, what mutual free association is. But it's basically any group of people, whether that be a group of friends or a specific organization, which come together of their own volition for a specific purpose or for their own specific reasons. The next thing we're going to talk about, the other type of power, organizational power, are command associations. So let's break this down a little bit. Let's bust this out and see what we've got. So there are several different types of command associations. The first that we've got is hereditary. Obviously that means that it's something that's inherited. It's been passed down. That could be hereditary from family, but it could also be hereditary from another third party that you have some type of relation to somehow. It doesn't necessarily have to imply, especially in this modern age, that there's like a father to son or father to child or parent to child relationship. It just means that it's been specifically passed down. That could be from a mentor to a student, from a master to a disciple, from a father to a son, anything like that. Another type of command association would be new command associations. These are anything that's just recently formed and has a very strong hierarchical, top-heavy power structure. And then there are those that are acquired by power. That means organizations or associations which are taken by force. So let's talk about each of these a little bit more. We're going to talk about hereditary associations. And again, remember, these are associations that have been passed down from father. Associations, countries, states, groups of friends, what have you, that have been passed down from father to son, from mentor to student, from master to disciple, something like that. So, one of the interesting things about hereditary associations, anything that's been passed down in a lineage format, is that it's very, very, very easy to hold. Once you've got that power, it's difficult to lose that power because you've been granted, you've been given authority. Everybody has to recognize that authority. So one of the main benefits to taking over a hereditary association or to being the lineage holder of a hereditary association is that there are fewer difficulties in holding that. It's much easier to maintain your power within that structure. Now, if you want to maintain that power, there are three basic things you need to keep in mind that you need to pay attention to and be focused on to make sure that you maximize your potential to hold that power. First of all, you don't go against old customs. Let's move this over here a bit. Don't go against old customs. Whatever the old customs are, the old traditions, the old laws, the old rules, the old ways of doing things, you want to stay with that as much as possible. Stay with what's familiar, stay with what people within the organization, the association, the group, the state, the country, or whatever are used to. Don't go in and radically change this stuff if you want to maintain the power easily. Second is you just need to deal with situations as they arise. So whatever situation might come up, you just need to deal with it as it arises. Don't put a lot of worry or effort into planning for future problems. That's always a good idea to think about it a little bit, but don't think about it too much with a hereditary association. Just deal with these circumstances as they arrive. And the third thing we want to mention is that if the power gets taken from you, if you're commanding a hereditary organization, a lineage organization, whether you're the student of the former master whether you're the student of a mentor, whether you inherited this power from a father, a paternal figure, or whatever. If that power gets taken from you, what you need to keep in mind is that in the situation that anything bad happens to the usurper, the person who takes the power from you, if anything bad happens to them at all, you can easily regain your power. So what you want to do is, if for some reason somebody usurps your power, takes that power away from you in a hereditary organization, you want to wait for the moment when something bad happens to the person who takes the power, the person who usurped your power, and you can easily come back in, especially if people are unhappy with them, if they've made serious mistakes, if they've made errors in judgments, or if they're just facing bad situations, you can easily come back in with the granted authority that you have and take back the organization without much of a problem. So the second type of command association, command organization, would be new ones. We'll talk about those a little bit more later. But now we want to talk about organizations, associations, or whatever that are acquired by power. That means you go in and take these things by force, whether that's force of arms, gravitas, or what have you. It means that you've acquired this power that you don't have a hereditary link to and that you didn't create yourself. You've done sort of a hostile takeover. Maybe not hostile, maybe it was a very amicable takeover, but at any rate, you've got command of an organization, an association that you didn't build and you didn't directly inherit. So let's talk about that a little bit. So there are three different situations here where it's very easy to hold this type of acquired power. If they have the same language, obviously if we're talking about states, geographic areas, that's literal. It means if people speak the same language, if you annex a nearby state and that state speaks the same language, you're going to have a much easier time holding on to it. If the situation is one where you're taking over a company, taking over an organization, some type of free association, a group of friends, what have you, if they have the same language, that language could be just the typical means of dealing with things. We don't want to read too much into this, but the second one is having the same or similar culture. So again, with the analogy of a land grab, if you're acquiring a neighboring state or something and they have a very similar culture to your culture, if you're acquiring an organization and they have the same, a very similar organizational culture, or a group of friends that you're going to go in and take over the leadership of, if they have similar culture, if they have similar values, and so on, then it's going to be much easier for you to take that. The third situation is where they have different language or different culture. So we're going to talk about each of these. Let's break out having the same language. So that's going to be easier to hold if the association, the group, is not used to self-government. If they've been previously governed by a command organization or a command structure or an individual with command power, it's going to be much easier for you to hold that. If they are used to self-government, then it's going to be more difficult. The second thing is that it's going to be easier to hold if the family or the close associates of the former leader is destroyed. So if you've got a hereditary association up here and you go in and take over the power, if it's a family, you have to destroy, in order to make it easier to maintain that power, you need to destroy that family. Or if it's, for example, some type of other lineage structure, like guru to disciple, or master to student, whoever that person's brothers are, let's take Kung Fu as an example, martial arts or something as an example. If a person inherits the lineage from the previous master, but they've got very close brothers within the same generation of that lineage, they have to be gotten rid of as well. So Organizations, groups, or places having the same or similar culture are easy to hold if, again, the family of the former leader is destroyed, and if taxes, wages, laws, and rules and regulations are not changed. So don't go in and start charging people more money. Don't go in and lower any wages that people are making. Don't go in and dramatically change the laws and rules. If you follow these very simple steps, assuming that the organization has a similar culture to the one you're coming from or to your own culture, your own cultural background, it'll be very easy to maintain and to hold that power. Now, finally, we're going to talk about what happens if there's a different type of language or different type of culture. So that's going to be difficult to hold. If you want to hold that, the new leader, which is hopefully going to be you, should be in residence. That means you need to be physically present. If it's a company and you do a hostile takeover of a company, if you acquire a company through a purchase, or any other type of way where you might gain power that wasn't previously yours, you need to be in residence at least for the short to mid-term. That means physically present on premises. If it were a state, you need to reside in that state. If it's a company, you need to set up an office there and be there every day. And it'll also be difficult to hold if you allow your subordinate leadership to pillage. So in the example of a state, if you allow your subordinate leadership, the people under you, the sub-management, the sub-leaders under you, to go in and just wreak havoc or to take from people, then it's going to be very difficult to hold. Finally, if there's a different language or culture and the current leader, let's say you're going in to take something by force, some type of hostile takeover of a group, an organization, a state, or some type of association, if the language is different and the culture is different, and the current leader is in residence, the guy who's currently running the show is in residence, he's physically present, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to take. What you need to do is establish colonies. Now, when we talk about colonies, obviously, if we're talking about a physical land grab, we're talking about a state or some principality or something like that. I think it's obvious how you colonize that. You send your own people in to live there. If we're talking about an organization, colonization just means that you send your own people who are loyal to you from your own organization that you have a history with in to colonize that. Whether that's a working group, a subcommittee, a caucus, or what have you. The reason you want to establish colonies is because it's not costly to do that. You don't have to lose a lot of resources. They're more loyal to you. Setting up colonies causes less harm to the organization you're taking over than going in and slashing and burning using force. And the people that you injure, the people that are replaced by the colony, let's say you're taking over an organization and there's a specific group within that organization that handles some specific task, and you bring in people from your own organization to run that, it's a little bit safer because the people who are injured, the people who are displaced or who have lost their job, being poor and scattered, can't really create much harm.